third chapter, Mishnah 11. Rabbi Hanina ben Dosa says, Kol sheyiras cheto, anyone whose fear of sin, fear of mistake, kodemas lechachmaso, that it precedes his wisdom, hachmaso miskayemes, and his chachma, his wisdom will endure. V'kol shechachmaso kodemes liyiras cheto, but anyone whose wisdom precedes his fear of sin, ein hachmaso miskayemes, his wisdom will not endure. So we saw the Mishnah we just did is about a guy who is really the two preceding Mishnah, but especially the Mishnah we just saw is the guy who says he sits down and he strips it away. He strips away his Yiras Shamayim, and he strips away his Chachma, and he strips away his understanding of Torah because he wants to do what he wants to do because he doesn't see that it's important. Right? So we're now in this parsha, this concept of, okay, I'm now learning, I'm developing Chachma and wisdom as to what's appropriate in life. Hopefully I'm learning it from Torah sources, so I'm building an appropriate sense of Chachma. How do you protect it? How do you keep from being that guy whose Chachma evaporates? So he gives you two tools. The first one is, let your Yiras Chet, your fear of mistake, precede it. And the second one says, the next Mishnah, Yud Beit, says, Hu Hayomer, he also said, Kol Shemaisav Murubin Mechachmaso, any person whose actions exceed or go beyond his Chachma, Chachmaso Miskayemes, his Chachma endures. V'kol Shehachmaso Muruba Mimaisav, anyone whose wisdom exceeds his actions, Ein Chachmaso Miskayemes, that his wisdom will not endure. So the first answer to your question is, it's his wisdom we're talking about, right? That God knows a lot, right? And the Rosh Hashiva knows a lot. That's not going to do you a lot of good, unless it gets to you. I mean, ultimately, you're right. When you have to make decisions in your life, you got to make your decisions on what you've learned. You got to, right? What makes sense to you and what's practical, and you got to make your best shot. So hopefully you've used the preceding Mishnah that are teaching you that you're structuring your approach to life as a Torah approach to life. It says, what keeps you out of trouble? So the first, he says, is fear of mistake, is a recognition of consequences. Again, go back to the case. If you think that the medication you're about to give to your child is harmful, then you'll be very careful to understand what it is. If you recognize that your children's emotional well-being is built by how you deal with them, then you're going to be careful. If you think their physical well-being is influenced by how you deal with them, then you're going to be careful. Yireh Chet is a recognition that there are actions and choices that you can make in life that are spiritually and socially destructive. There are things that you can say to your wife that are harmful to her, that are destructive to a relationship. Right? You're not supposed to fight with your wife. You're not supposed to attack your wife or criticize your wife. You can create a level of destruction, of separation, that can take days or weeks or months or years to heal. Right? You can say things to a kid that are, to your child that are emotionally devastating. Right? Say them often enough and you can ruin a person. It says, Yireh Chet is the recognition. It says, if you recognize that you are a soul, and that you have a connection to other people and they have souls, and you have a connection to God, and that's a relation that needs to be nurtured, and that any of those relationships can be damaged or destroyed based on your choices, then that is enough to keep you in line and in control. That if you really have clarity that what you can do can destroy your kids, then you will think about what you say and what you do around your kids. Right? You'll be careful of what influences you bring into your home if you realize that those influences are potentially destructive to them. Right? If you don't have clarity, so he says it's a general rule of thumb. It's not to be mindless. He said for most of us, it's hard because in this room we're basically good guys. So I mean, the range of what we're willing to think about as actions and words or whatever, it's all pretty moderate, right? But he gives it as a rule of thumb. If you want to make sure that your chachma, your wisdom and approach to life is going to stick with you. So the first piece is a clarity question. you have to be clear that it is harmful. You have to be clear that if you are clear that insulting your wife is harmful to her, then you'll be careful not to say such things, right? It's destructive. You will be clear. If you are clear that being distant and hard on a person, right, that attacking your child's character is destructive. They teach you to say, criticize the act, not the person. You can damage people. If you recognize that, it says, then your wisdom will endure, because you're constantly thinking about. You recognize, I need to make sure I'm clear. The second half is act on it. Is if you're doing stuff, if you take your ideas and ideals and you live them, and they infuse what you choose to do with your daily life, then those ideals, they just naturally become part of you. If you think, it's not enough to decide you're charitable. You have to give charity. It has to be when the opportunity to help people and they show up at your door, that you're kind to them and polite to them. And it's not a deep philosophical thing, but it is. You have this huge philosophical question, Chavi aniyim b'nei b'secha, let the poor be children in your home. You don't resent feeding your kids. You should not resent feeding, right, the poor. Right? So now you have to act on that. When they come to your door, how do you treat them? And eventually it says, deeds guide the heart. If you create a construct and you act on your ideals over and over and over in small ways, then those ideals just become the way you look at the world. And then they become real. But if you can't act to it, if you're always living less than what you believe, right, that's where your inconsistency and hypocrisy comes in. If you're always acting less than you believe, eventually you will destroy your beliefs and alter your beliefs and rationalize until you bring your beliefs down to what you're actually doing. And you will justify why you do it the way you do it. He says the two greatest, once you have insight and clarity into how you should live your life, the two tools he offers for preserving that clarity is recognize that it matters. That's what being Yirei Hate just means. Recognize that life matters in your interaction with yourself, your interaction with God, and your interaction with others. If you know that it matters, then you'll focus on making sure you're doing it right. And then second is just try to find a way to make it real. Right? We've talked many times the difference between Jewish learning and Greek learning, between Torah learning and university learning. The Greek learning was about philosophical constructs, intellectual ideals. Torah learning was always about action. It's about changing the nature of who you are and acting according to a philosophical or spiritual or moral ideal. That's the difference. We're not interested in beautiful ideas. We're interested in beautiful lives. The Greeks were interested in beautiful ideas. That's the difference. That's our Mishnah.